Turn criticism into R&D. What was the secret for success that Steve Jobs finally learned? In this episode, you're going to get some insights into how Steve Jobs, when he came back to Apple the second time, totally transformed Apple to the success they are today, and how he made his criticism, the critics and what they said, into his R&D. So I'm Doug Andrew. I've been a financial strategist, retirement planning specialist for 47 years. I've trained a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners throughout my career on how to take their business to 10 times, often in less than 60 months. And I like to tell the story of Steve Jobs. In fact, I've shared this in many of my books and publications. I've written 11 books, and we've been blessed that many of them have become national bestsellers. And so what was the secret to Steve Jobs' success? I think the second time he came back to Apple, he had learned some things. Instead of inventing technology, this icon of technology, instead of trying to create products that he thought people would want, he started listening to his customers, and he learned the secret to sort of just build a better mousetrap, so to speak. So let me give you some ideas of how he began to do this, and then how he took what the critics said, the criticism about any of his products, and that was his new R&D, and this was a game changer for Steve Jobs. For example, he did not invent the cell phone. What did he do? He just created a better mousetrap cell phone. The iPhone, and one of the most popular cell phones that America and the world has come to love, was simply taking existing technology and creating a better platform for a phone. You know, it's interesting because the other day, our grandchildren were playing in our little play hut upstairs by our movie theater in our home. They were back in there and they recovered this old phone. It was a dial phone. Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, come over here. What is this? Well, that's a telephone. Well, how does it work? Well, you stuck your finger in here and you would dial, and you would come around here to where it stopped, and then you'd pull your finger out, and then you'd wait till it wound around. Oh, my little granddaughter said, I'll bet you were glad if you didn't have a lot of nines in your phone number. That would take forever. Yeah. What else does it do, Grandpa? It just made phone calls. Oh, how boring. Well, see, Steve Jobs took the phone, a cell phone, and created a platform. I can't remember when I last checked, but there's probably about 1.5 million apps on the iPhone. Steve Jobs have to create the apps. No, he created the platform for people to develop apps that went on that platform. And all the different apps that you use, the cell phone for all kinds of things. And then the cameras in the cell phones are far better. Do you know that the first digital camera weighed about 25 pounds and cost about $25,000? They had to lift it with a forklift off of an airplane, the very first digital camera. Now you get two of them on your smartphone for less than $10 with 1,000 times better resolution. And so what Jobs did is he took existing technology and created a better mousetrap, and he created a platform where other people would put their things on that platform. Does that make sense? Let me give you another example. So Steve Jobs did not invent the MP3 player. He looked at the MP3 technology, and if you saw the movie, he told his daughter, you're gonna have 1,000 songs in your pocket. Well, he was talking about the iPod, and that he could take that MP3 player and allow music to be downloaded. Now, when he first introduced that to the music industry, they were scarcity minded. Oh, get out of here, Mr. Jobs. We only make money when we sell an album, when we sell a CD with 11 or 12 songs on it. We can't make money one song at a time at 99 cents a download back then with iTunes. He goes, no, you'll make more money if you let them do that. Well, they now love that technology because people wanted the song that they wanted to download. And sometimes I've downloaded the same song in multiple ways. The music industry actually made more money by downloading just the songs people wanted. So that was on the iPod. Now, the critics looked at that. The first one I got was about this big. They said, well, that's a little bit bulky. I'm a jogger. And he goes, thank you for that criticism. So he came out with the iPod Nano. And that allowed me to strap it on my arm. See, I bought that one too. And then some of those joggers said, well, that's cumbersome. I don't like the cord right there. I want a clip. So he came out with the Shuffle and the clip. I own them all. And I'm a Microsoft guy. See, because I want the latest and greatest, and they come with more and more capacity. So he took the criticism, well, I want something smaller. I want something that clips. And instead of going, oh, I missed it, he goes, thank you. And he went out and developed another one and another one and another one. He learned how to take the criticism and turn that into his research and development. Let's take the iPad. When the iPad first came out, they had all kinds of critics. You know what? Who wants a tablet? We have laptops. We have PDAs. We have our smartphones. Who wants a tablet? Well, he didn't listen to the critics as far as the demand that would be created, but sometimes I wonder, you know, in Isaiah in the Old Testament, I'm Christian, and in the Old Testament of the Bible, Isaiah chapter 3, it talks about these prophecies of the latter days. And it would always talk about how people will be sort of caught up in their changeable clothing, their suits of apparel, and their nose jewels, and their earrings, and their trinkets, and their bracelets, and their tablets, and their tablets. How come Isaiah, who apparently saw our day, would have said tablets? What's a tablet? Well, I go around on subways in Tokyo, Japan. I go to New York, and sometimes people aren't talking to each other. They're all looking at their tablet. So yeah, that's what maybe that was. But see, that's a tablet. And I remember shortly after the iPad came out, that in our living room there were 11 iPads one Sunday after we had blessed a little grandchild, and it was mainly being dominated by the grandkids. I remember singing in a choir at church, and an 85-year-old woman looked at my iPad where I was pulling up the songs and the scriptures and said, I want one of those. Okay, so the iPad came out. It was extremely popular, and then the critics said, that's a little bit big and bulky to go in my purse. Thank you for that criticism. So we came out with the iPad mini. I own several of each size. Now, I take my educational videos, and I had a library of 153 videos back then, and I was buying 500 and 600 of these iPad minis at the time that would hold 64 gigs, and I was downloading onto that 154 videos so people at their fingertips could watch my educational videos. So taking my content, combining it with Steve Jobs' technology, that created a win-win. And this is where we have cooperation. And this creates exponential growth, and this is what makes the world go round. So I appreciated the technology that allowed my videos to be downloaded, 150 of them on one iPad mini that was dedicated to family empowerment and asset optimization. But see, Steve Jobs learned late in his career that if you simply listen to what your customers want and make the criticism, the research and development into your next product, you will never run out of opportunity to provide what the public really wants. So you listen to your customers or you will die. So that's why this technology icon, this guru, motivated me to rethink my thinking. And I began to listen to my customers. So whether you're a realtor, a doctor, a dentist, a chiropractor, a CPA, listen and take the criticism and come out with a better way, a better service, a better product. I share this story and many others in my various books, Entitlement Abolition. Steve Jobs, I talk about in this book called Learning Curves. You can go to learningcurvesbook.com or entitlementabolitionbook.com, and we'll fire out a free copy to you. You just pay nominal $5.95 shipping and handling. But this is what I love sharing, is the many lessons that I've learned by studying lives of great people that changed the world, where Steve Jobs, within a couple of hours of his passing, probably 80% of the world knew about his death on one of his devices. I mean, that's pretty powerful when you have that kind of an influence in the world, and you can influence those you care about in much the same way.